For 3 years, I studied English almost every single day. Grammar books, word lists, apps, all of it. And I still froze the moment someone asked me a simple question. If that sounds familiar, stick with me, because the problem was never how hard I was trying. It was 6 specific habits nobody ever warned me about. And today, I'm breaking down every single one. Mistake number 1, and it's the one that wasted the most time. I studied English to learn English. That was it. That was the entire goal. Open a book, memorize a rule, close the book, repeat tomorrow. No real reason behind any of it beyond, I guess I need to know this. Sounds harmless, right? Except here's what actually happened. Because I had no real reason to study, I had no reason to stay consistent. Some weeks I'd study daily, other weeks nothing. I kept jumping from one course to another, one app to another, always chasing the perfect method, which, by the way, doesn't exist. I was a perfectionist without a purpose, and that's a brutal combination. Everything shifted the moment I stopped treating English as the goal and started treating it as a tool. I'm obsessed with personal development. I'm still honestly a little obsessed with acting. So instead of grammar drills, I started listening to podcasts about the things I actually cared about. Interviews with actors, personal development talks, real articles that pulled me in. Suddenly, I wasn't studying English anymore. I was learning about acting, and English just happened to be the language it came wrapped in. Motivation stopped being a daily fight because psychologists have a name for this, intrinsic motivation, and it consistently outlasts forcing yourself through material you don't care about. So ask yourself honestly, what do you actually love? Cooking, fitness, true crime, doesn't matter. There's a podcast or a channel about it in English. Start there. Let the language follow the interest, not the other way around. Mistake number 2, vocabulary, or more accurately, how I tried to learn it. I did exactly what everyone tells you to do. I grabbed the famous lists, 500 words, 1100 words, and sat there memorizing them like a robot. Word definition. Except I had no idea if apparent was a noun or an adjective. I couldn't use half these words in an actual sentence. I could recognize them on a page, but the second I needed one in real conversation, my brain just went blank. There's actually a reason those lists never stuck. Psychologists have mapped something called the forgetting curve. Without real, repeated use, most new information fades from memory within days. And on top of that, I had this exhausting habit of trying to look up and memorize every single new word I came across. Every single one, which meant I was spending more time buried in a dictionary than actually using the language. Here's what works instead. Your brain retains words far better when they're attached to meaning and context, not floating on an isolated list. So I started asking a simpler question. What words do I actually use every day in my own language? Those are the ones I need first, not apparent. Words like honestly, or kind of, or I mean. And for everything beyond that, podcasts became my dictionary. Instead of memorizing vocabulary, I was collecting real phrases spoken exactly the way actual people speak them. That's a completely different skill from memorizing a list, and it's the one that actually gets you talking. Mistake number 3 is sneaky because it looks like you're doing everything right. Passive studying. I listen to English podcasts constantly while cooking, while driving, while cleaning my apartment, and to be clear, that's genuinely useful. Your ears adjust to the rhythm and sound of the language. But here's the hard truth I didn't want to hear. Listening while multitasking is passive learning, and passive learning on its own only takes you so far. I didn't even know active and passive learning were different things until I hit a wall. I could understand almost everything I heard, but the moment I opened my mouth to actually speak, nothing came out smoothly. My comprehension and my speaking ability were living in 2 completely different universes. So I shifted toward output, actually producing the language instead of just absorbing it. And the one technique that changed everything for me is called shadowing. Here's how it works. Find a video of a native speaker talking. Listen to one short sentence, pause, and repeat it out loud, copying not just the words, but the tone, the rhythm, even the tiny pauses. You're not translating and you're not thinking about grammar. You're literally training the muscles in your mouth and jaw to move the way a native speakers do. It feels awkward at first, I won't pretend otherwise, but give it 2 weeks, just 10 minutes a day, and something strange happens. English starts coming out of your mouth faster without you having to translate every word in your head first. Mistake number 4 is closely tied to the last one. I never actually built a plan to produce the language. I was consuming constantly, listening, reading, but producing, speaking, writing, actually generating English myself, I left that completely up to chance. And chance doesn't build a skill. Think about it this way. You could watch 1,000 hours of people cooking and it still wouldn't make you a good cook. At some point, you have to get in the kitchen and burn a few things yourself. Language works exactly the same way. It's a physical produced skill, not just information stored in your head. So I started building output into my routine on purpose. A few things worked especially well. First, finding a language partner. Apps like HelloTalk connect you with people who want to practice your language while you practice theirs, or even a group chat with friends who are learning too. It's free, it's mutual, and there's zero pressure because they need your help just as much as you need theirs. Second, something small but surprisingly powerful. Commenting in English under YouTube videos. Low stakes, quick, and it forces you to actually build a sentence instead of just reading one. Third, I started recording short videos of myself talking just on my phone, about my day, about anything. Watching them back was uncomfortable at first, but that discomfort is exactly where the progress happens. And finally, journaling. Every night before bed, a few lines in English about my day. No pressure for perfect grammar, just produce the language consistently. That one habit, more than almost anything else, is what moved me from understanding English to actually speaking it. Mistake number 5, grammar. Specifically, my belief that I had to master every rule before I was allowed to speak. I bought the thick books, the ones with 500 pages and endless grids of verb conjugations. I told myself, once I finish this, I'll be ready. Except I never finished it because studying grammar with no context, no real sentence you're trying to build, no story you're trying to tell is genuinely draining. Eventually, I just stopped. Not because I gave up on English, but because that specific approach ran out of fuel. What actually works is almost the reverse order. Instead of learning grammar first and speaking second, learn grammar exactly when you need it, in the middle of trying to say something real. Say you want to tell a friend about a memory from last summer. You start talking and you realize, wait, how do I even form the past tense here? That's your moment. Right then, you look it up, Google it, ask an AI, whatever's fastest. You learn that one structure, practice that one sentence, and move on. It's a completely different feeling than memorizing a grammar table. There's a well-known idea in linguistics behind this. We don't truly absorb grammar by studying rules in isolation. We absorb it by using structures inside real communication and refining them over time. You're not learning grammar for its own sake anymore. You're borrowing exactly the tool you need for the sentence you're already building. Mistake number 6, and honestly, the one I'm least proud of, I didn't read books for years because in my head, I wasn't good enough yet. I thought there was some invisible line, some level I had to reach, and only after crossing it would I be allowed to pick up a real English book. Spoiler, nobody was ever going to hand me that permission. I had to give it to myself. Here's the mindset shift that fixed it. You do not need to understand 100% of a book to benefit from it. Somewhere around 70 to 80% comprehension is genuinely enough. You'll still follow the story, you'll still absorb grammar and vocabulary naturally, and the words you don't know, your brain starts guessing them from context, which is honestly a skill in itself. So the fix is simple. Pick a book or a story that matches where you actually are right now, not where you wish you were. Something like a beginner-level graded reader, or even a book you've already read in your own language, so the story itself isn't a mystery. And one bonus that made a huge difference for me, read it out loud. Not in your head, out loud with your actual voice. It trains your mouth on the rhythm of the language, and it quietly builds a kind of fluency that silent reading never touches. So that's it. 6 mistakes that quietly drained years of my life, and 6 small shifts that turned English from a chore into something I genuinely enjoy. None of it required more time, just a different direction. By the way, if you want me to make videos for you like the ones on my channel, you can shoot me a message on the Telegram ID I left in the description. If even one of these hit a little too close to home, do me a favor. Hit like, subscribe if you're actually serious about fixing this, and tell me in the comments which mistake you're guilty of. I read every single one, and honestly, I want to know I wasn't the only person who learned all of this the hard way.